Okay, we may continue. Dentin is always less mineralized than enamel, but has a higher mineral content than either bone or cementum. Mineral fraction ranges nearly 68 to 79% by weight, as contrasted with approximately 97% by weight in enamel. As you can easily see from here, that dental enamel contains much more mineral fraction, and it's calcium phosphate we know now. Now, calcium phosphorus ratio in dentine usually has been found to be lower than that in enamel. Just read these statements. It's not very important clinically. Probably it's important from scientifically, but just read this. You don't need right now at the second year. Calcium phosphorus ratio in dentine usually has been found to be lower than that in enamel. Amorphous calcium phosphate has been reported in dentine, while analysis of human enamel indicated that it was a 100% crystalline epitide. Now this is important. Dentine is 45 to 50% inorganic portion and 25 and 30% of organic matrix, which is mainly collagen. We mentioned about that, and 25% water in volume. So dentine contains only in volume, of course, 50% of calcium phosphate. Especially in volume, it contains much more organic matrix than dental enamel, and it has a huge amount of, an abundant amount of water in volume. Contains, sorry, it's a complicated statement. Dentine contains approximately 25% of water in volume, and there's a huge amount of water in dentine. Now, the two types of dentine are present. First, intertubular dentine, apatite crystals embedded collagen matrix between tubuli, and peritubular dentine, collagen-free, hypermineralized tubular wall. Now, this is a horizontal cut appearance of the dentine. This is a real one. You see the dentinal tubuli in here. These are the dentinal tubuli. Here is the intertubular dentine. You know, inter means among. In Latin, intertubular dentine means the dentine among the dentinal tubuli. And because of the photography technique, you won't be able to see the whole surrounding of hypermineralized collagen-free peritubular dentine. It seems lighter in here, but hypermineralized collagen-free dentine surrounds the whole tubuli. It is hypermineralized. It doesn't contain any collagen, but in here it contains collagen and at the same time calcium phosphate. I mean the apatite crystals. Tubules of the, please read these two slides, this one and the next one. I'm going to show the schematic configuration after reading because it seems at the beginning a little bit complicated. Now, the tubules of the peripheral dentine near dentin enamel junction are far apart from each other, and intertubular dentine makes up 96% of the surface area. Tubules constitute 4% of the area of peripheral dentine. This is very important clinically, so you should have a good knowledge about this. I'm going to explain. Please read again. Okay. Tubules of the peripheral dentine near dentin enamel junction are far apart from each other, and intertubular dentine makes up 96% of the surface area. Tubules constitute 4% of the area of peripheral dentine. And please read the next one, this one. But in the inner part of the dentine, tubules diameters are greater and intertubular area is only 12% of surface area, and tubular mass volume is nearly 80%. This means that the dentine close to pulp is about 8 times more permeable than peripheral dentine. For tubules, volumes affect both permeability and bonding characteristics. I'm waiting, okay, before showing the schematic configuration. Okay, now you see it's not very complicated. Now, this is the schematic configuration. Where is my arrow? Yeah, you see these lines represents the enamel prisms. Here is enamel, and here is dentine, and these lines represent the dentinal tubuli and the dental pulp. Now, it is thought that dentinal tubuli geometrical configuration is cylindrical, but they are not cylindrical. Uh, it seems, let us suppose a cone, a long cone, starts from here and goes to the dentinal enamel junction, a long cone. Let us suppose that this cone is cut at the apex, okay? It's truncated cone in English. In English, I could say it's a truncated cone. It's not cylindrical. The floor is the diameter of the cone is too large in here, but diameter of the cone is narrow at the apex. Let us think about, let us suppose that this is a truncated cone, not cylindrical, but truncated at the apex. And by this configuration, diameter of the dentinal tubuli are very narrow in the region which is close to dentinal enamel junction. But because of the cone shape, at the floor of the cone, the diameter of the dentinal tubuli are too great, too large. So again, I have to say, this is a long cone and a truncated cone, a cone just like is cut at the apex, and the diameter of the dentinal tubuli are narrow in the dental enamel junction. I'm sorry, I repeat, but for a good understanding, maybe it's better to repeat it again. But the diameter of the cone is large or larger in the region which is close to pulp dentine junction. This is very important from the clinical viewpoint because if you open a shallow cavity, you are going to work on in this region where the diameters of the dentinal tubuli are narrow. Now we know histologically in dentinal tubuli, there is dentinal fluid. Dentinal fluid is a sort of water. Of course, it contains collagen, proteins, some mucopolysaccharides, and the other, but mainly 99% of dentinal fluid is water. And if you open a shallow cavity, then you've been working in the region where the dentinal fluid is less than in here. The meaning of this statement is, in this region, there is less water. There is a very less water. From the viewpoint of the adhesion, let us suppose you go to the market and you would like to stick a vase, a leather, at the house, you want to buy a glue, and when you buy a glue and before using it, if you read the instructions, it says first clean the surface. There must have no dust, no water on it, because if there is more water molecules on the surface, it is very difficult to stick it. Okay, then you clean the surface and use your glue. Use your glue. And just like this, in the region which is close to dentin enamel junction, there is less water. So it is very easy to be successful in the shallow cavities, okay? To bond it, to bond the composite material with the dentine. But if you have a deep cavity, if your floor of the cavity reaches in these areas, the diameter of the dentinal tubuli are large. And that means there is too much water in the region which is close to pulp dentine junction. So this is the reason in the deeper cavities, successfulness is not very good because of the thickness or the bondings, let us say, bonding the composite material to dentine is not very difficult because there is a lot humidity in here because of the dentinal fluid. Okay, I think this is well understood. I'm going to show you another one. Yes, this is a better. These are odontoblasts, and odontoblasts in the pulp, of course. They send their protoplasmic extensions into the dentinal tubuli. Okay, but the dentinal tubuli configuration is a truncated cone. It's a long cone which is cut at the apex, and in the shallow cavities, you are going to find less dentinal fluid, but in the deeper cavities, you are going to find more dentinal fluid. That means there is an, abundant amount of water in here, and it is not easy to bond it with dentine because of this water. Of course, to overcome this problem, we are going to explain the facilities to overcome this problem. Of course, we overcome this problem by using several chemical agents, but this is the next year courses. But you have to write right now the anatomical shape of the dentinal tubuli is very important for the successfulness of your composite materials. And then when you would like to perform an composite restoration, you first apply phosphoric acid on the surface of dentine. And as you see in here, this acid opens or makes these dentinal tubuli diameters a little bit larger. And then, of course, the phosphoric acid dissolves the inorganic material. I mean, the calcium phosphate. You see the remnants in here, and is also inside of the dentinal tubuli. These are the remnants of the organic material because phosphoric acid cannot dissolve the organic material. It can only dissolve the calcium phosphate. This is a very good advantage because we apply adhesives on the surface, and they are the materials which flows into the dentinal tubuli, and you are going to have a very nice micromechanical retention by using these collagen fibers and the adhesives. Okay, they make a bundle. And through capillary action, fluids containing acidic and bacterial products can penetrate the gap and initiate the secondary caries. Bacterial substances can diffuse through permeable dentinal tubuli to reach the pulp. Of course, this is also important because acidic substances or bacterial products can go into the dentine, and they use the gap between the restorative material and the dentine when you apply a composite material. And by using this gap, they reach the dentine, and sometimes they use the dentinal tubuli and they reach the pulp and then become the reason for pulp irritation and pulp inflammation. So you have to have a very nice composite materials. You should not have a gap between the restorative material and the dentine. Of course, we have some facilities for it. And dentine is formed at fast pace. You are going to learn about the primary dentine and secondary dentine, I believe, in histological courses, but this is just for a beginning. Dentine is formed at a fast pace until the root formation is completed, and this dentine is referred to as primary dentine. After this, dentine is being formed rather slowly. It's termed as secondary dentine. Secondary dentine preferentially deposited in the pulp forms, and the roof and floor of the pulp chamber. And I believe these knowledges will be repeated in your histological courses. With an age-related process, tubule walls are also mineralized and peritubular dentinal wall thickens and occludes the tubular lumen. Now, let's get back, and I'm going to show the dentinal tubuli in here. Yes, here is the dentinal tubuli, and intertubular dentine and peritubular dentine, which surrounds the dentinal tubuli. But by age, going to the elderly, then some calcium phosphates comes from the pulp and go into the dentine and reach the dentinal tubuli and starts to close, starts to obturate the dentinal tubuli. And in elderly ages, these dentinal tubuli will be completely closed. And what are we going to do then when we are applying the composite materials? Because when we apply the composite materials, we apply phosphoric acid and it opens the dentinal tubuli, and we use adhesive to make a good bonding. But even if you use phosphoric acid, you cannot open these obturated dentinal tubuli in the elderly people. So many times the restorations of the elderly people will fail. So what are you going to do? Probably you are going to change the material. You can use the glass ionomers, because glass ionomers do not use this configuration. They are chemically bonded to the dentine. The glass ionomers are chemically bonded to dentine. You might use glass ionomer material, which is different material. For the elderly people, you should know about it. You have to care about it. And now, as caries progresses, if the necrosis of the cytoplasmic contents might occur, the tubules will be open to bacterial toxins. If the caries progresses, of course, the cytoplasmic contents, what's the cytoplasmic contents? We talked about it, the protoplasmic extensions of the odontoblasts in the dentinal tubules can be necrosized, and the tubules will be open to bacterial toxins. And this means these all dentinal tubuli are open to bacterial toxins, and these bacterial toxins, bacterial enzymes, acids, and bacterial stem cells can reach the pulp very easily. Now, I brought you some references for the histology and dentine of the enamel. There, you can find them in our library. If you would like to understand better, you can reach the library and find these books and read again. And do not hesitate to ask me. I again uh, repeat. Now, this is the end story of dental enamel and dentine, but there is a but in here. We are going to talk about the enamel caries last week, but we have lots of slides in enamel caries. Uh, for We have a little bit time at the end of this session, so I would like to begin the next week course. I mean the enamel caries right now, and I would like to show you some slides for the beginning, and I'm going to continue next week. Okay. Now coming to the enamel caries, let's talk about the enamel caries. Now, generally, a dental plaque should form on the surface of teeth for caries to occur. Even the number and variety of microorganisms are different in the fissures or on the smooth surfaces. It is known that continued acid production by bacteria which use fermentable carbohydrates would be responsible for the initial stage of demineralization. Now, for the initiation, for the beginning of the dental enamel caries, chemically, we need some factors. First of all, in the mouth, there must have bacteria, and in the mouth, there's always bacteria, always bacteria. And the patient should use sugars or fermentable carbohydrates. By using these fermentable carbohydrates, but the bacteria produces acids. And this acid is responsible for the demineralization. But this, at the same time, the third factor is the host resistance. If the host resistance, I mean the dental enamel, is very resistant against the acids, so even the bacteria could produce acids, the dental enamel will never be dissolved. This is important. So this is the reason children have more caries, because they have octocalcium phosphate crystals, and octocalcium phosphate crystals are not resistant against acids. But in adults, especially for the elderly, after the maturation stage, they have pure hydroxyapatite crystals, and they are really resistant against acids. So the elderly people have less dental enamel caries. But there is a fourth factor. This is another factor, as a sufficient length of time is needed for the beginning of this process. What's the meaning of this? The meaning of this, there is bacteria in the mouth, and they use carbohydrates to produce acids. And at the same time, let us suppose that the dental enamel is not very resistant against these acids, but the oral hygiene is very important. Brushing the teeth, because the bacteria needs time for the production of acids. If your patient or if you brush your teeth regularly, there is no time for the bacteria to produce acids. The oral hygiene is very important. If your patient do not brush their teeth, whatever you may do, you cannot stop the dental enamel caries initiation. Your patients regularly brush their teeth. If they brush their teeth regularly and the bacteria in the mouth cannot have time to produce acids. This is the fourth factor, but the important factor. Now, caries is commonly considered to be a chronic disease. The average time from the stage of incipient caries to clinical caries is 18 to 24 months. It's chronic disease. Of course, caries progression may be even more rapid, but generally it goes very slowly. So it has, you have time, or you have time to prevent it. But the mechanism for the formation of enamel caries may be investigated in 3 stages. And we are going to study one by one: macroscopic chains of enamel, microscopic chains of enamel, and ultrastructural chains of enamel. Now, coming to the microscopic chains of enamel, there are 2 areas on enamel where caries lesions may start. These are fissures of molars and premolars and the smooth approximal surfaces. Now, from this point, from basic sciences, we are coming to the clinical sciences. While we know right now, there are 2 areas where the enamel caries may start: fissures and smooth approximal surfaces. The earliest visible changes are usually manifested as a loss of transparency, resulting in an opaque chalky region. This is referred to as white spots. We mentioned about it. If an acid comes upon the external surface, and if it dissolves the external surface, I mentioned about when getting the color, though you will see some white spots. These white spots are the initiation of the dental enamel caries. I'm going to show you the pictures. Now, you see, this is a very bright, translucent dental enamel, very nice. And here is the white regions. These are white spots or white regions. These are dissolved enamel areas, which are seen a little bit chalky, okay? Not a little bit dull, not very bright like these regions or like these regions. And on the other hand, this is a much better picture. See the white spots, sorry. You see the neck of the tooth. These are the initiation of the dental enamel caries. Why? The reason is this patient brushed their teeth for social reasons, to show their teeth more brighter, more beautiful. But generally, the remnants of the food accumulates on the neck portion. Okay, you see in here very easily accumulates at the neck portion. This patient also brush their teeth socially, not for the health, but the patients should clean these regions where the food accumulates. Okay, these are the white regions, and these are the chalky enamel and white spots and initiation of the dental enamel caries. Of course, it's not easy to see these white spots on the approximal surfaces, but let us suppose number 4 is being extracted. You can see on the mesial side of the second premolar white spot, and this is the initiation of the dental enamel caries. And how can we see that? By using radiography. You can use bite wing radiographs because you cannot see them in the clinics. To detect them, you have to take the radiography. So if you are suspicious about initiation of dental enamel caries, you have to take radiography for detecting the approximal sites of the dental enamel. Generally, surfaces of white spots are smooth, but they become rough in a short period of time. Now, this is important. It is improbable to decide if a white spot is related to caries unless a cavity is occurred. You see a white spot on dental enamel surface, but is it an initiation of dental enamel caries? Sometimes there are hypomineralized, embryologically hypomineralized regions, which are not the initiation of dental caries, may occur on the on dental enamel surfaces. As known, enamel opacities may emerge on the surface of enamel owing to the short-term disturbances in matrix deposition in the embryological stage. Now we know at the embryological stage, first of all, ameloblasts secrete the organic matrix, and then this organic matrix is a skeleton, and calcium phosphate deposition or precipitation occurs on this organic matrix. But sometimes the ameloblasts cannot work very well. They do not secrete very nice organic matrix. And of course, on the poor organic matrix, there will be a poor deposition of calcium phosphates. And under these circumstances, there will not be a very good mineralization. And these regions are seen white spots in clinically. And to understand which is which, the white spots that are seen on the surfaces, which has a tendency for caries progression, are accepted as the initiation of enamel caries. Otherwise, they are referred to as hypocalcified enamel opacities. Please read these sentences, and I'm going to explain it with a picture. Okay, the white spots that are seen on the surfaces, which has a tendency for the caries progression, are accepted as the initiation of enamel caries. Otherwise, they are referred to as hypocalcified enamel opacities. For instance, now let's get back. Sorry. Here. Now, these are the white spots, and these are the initiation of dental enamel caries because food accumulates in here. And we know the neck of the tooth is a very good region for this accumulation. Generally, white spots can be seen here for the accumulation of the for the initiation of the dental enamel caries. But let us suppose in here there is a white spot like this. Okay, this is a hypocalcified area because on the vestibular side, it is impossible to accumulate food. And at the same time, generally the patients clear these vestibular sites very well socially, as I told you. So it is impossible for this region for the initiation of dental enamel caries. So we decide that if we see the white spots on the regions where the food accumulates, we can decide about it is the initiation of dental enamel caries. But if we see, especially we see these white spots on the vestibular sides of the maxillary teeth, if we see these white opacities, and we understand this is a hypocalcified enamel opacities which has emerged from the ameloblasts mistaken wrong secretion and poor calcification. Okay, it's not easy, but you are going to understand it in the clinics. Why I'm getting back? Yes. Yes. Yes. Occlusal fissure morphology can be extremely diverse in shape. There are several types of fissures if a classification is performed. Fissure types are very important for the initiation of dental enamel caries. Fissure caries progress in the same manner as in the smooth surfaces, White spots can rarely be seen in the fissures because of their morphology. Gray-like color tones is observed in the fissures as the first macroscopic evidence. Normally, it is not possible to see the deeper layer of the fissures. You cannot see it by eye because the fissures are the hollows and they go 2 or 3 millimeters inside. You won't be able to see the deeper sides of fissures by eye. You can easily see the smooth surfaces in the clinics, but you won't be able to see the deeper layers of fissures. It should always be remembered that dentine, even the pulp may be affected under these fissures observed. When you see a fissure which shows a gray tone, that you should understand there might be a beginning of the dental enamel caries in the deeper side of the fissures, because generally the fissures can be seen normal enamel color with a normal enamel color, not chalky, not gray, not darkish, not brown and black. But if you see a gray color, because it's the reflection of the enamel caries. So you have to be suspicious about it if these fissures have the dental enamel caries. So it's better to explain it with a schematic configuration. And these are the fissure types. And interestingly, it's important to say this, fissure types are genetically coded, genetically decided, because fissure types are getting from mother or father. So if you are lucky, then you have to have V-shape or U-shape fissure types. So these fissure types are very easy to clean because hair of the toothbrush can easily reach the deeper sides of the fissure. You can use by using the toothbrushes with these fissure types, in these fissure types. Excuse me, I'm a little bit tired. Statements are not going well. These fissure types can easily be cleaned by using toothbrushes, because the hair of the toothbrushes can clean the deeper side of the fissure, this one and this one, U-type or V-type. But it is these fissure types are genetically coded. But if you have a fissure type like converted Y or IK, we say, or I-type fissures, then you are unlucky. So the hair of the toothbrush cannot reach the deeper layers of these fissures. So the accumulation of the food debris or the remnants of the food debris can accumulate in here. So it is impossible. So it is impossible clean these remnants from the deeper layers by using the hair brushes. So it's very easy for the initiation of dental enamel caries. And if you see a gray tone when you see the fissure clinically, a gray tone in here, this is the reflection of the initiation of the enamel caries. And this is the best way to understand, to probe it with your probes. And if you don't see it very hard, and clinically you might decide that there is a enamel dental caries initiation in here, but you won't be able to see a chalky enamel in here, but you are going to see the gray tones in IK, I, and Y type of fissures. In here, you are very lucky. You directly can see the fissures in here. On the other hand, you can clean these fissures with their toothbrushes. Okay. Now we are coming to the microscopic change of enamel, and it's a long story. Now it's better to stop in here because if I start the microscopic change of enamel, there are many slides. So we are going to continue with the microscopic change of enamel. This is the end story for the dental and enamel tissues, and we make a good start for the enamel caries. Yes, this is the end. If you have anything that you can make yourself clear, you can ask me anytime, send me an email. I try to explain it, or in the faculty, you can find me. You can come to me, and I try to explain the non-understandable points. Okay, this is the end point, and thank you very much for joining me. Okay, goodbye, good day.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, right now.
I didn't understand the relation between the Rios lines in animal and the opening for the acid.
Of course, you didn't understand between what? I couldn't get the question.
The relation between Rios lines in the animal.
Rios, retios, you would like to say?
Yes, yes.
Retios lines. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's go back to Retzius lines. Where are the Retzius lines? Here are the Retzius lines. Now, at the embryological stage, the all ameloblasts at the dentina enamel junction stayed side by side and start to secrete the organic matrix. And they secrete the organic matrix and they try to reach the outer surface. And after that, the calcification, I mean the precipitation of the calcium phosphate occurs and the whole enamel is being created. But sorry about this. I can't, yeah. But the ameloblasts are living cells. They are working, they should be tired, they should be rest. And all the ameloblasts at the same time, approximately in 24 hours, they rest. When they rest altogether, they do not secrete the organic matrix, or they secrete very less organic matrix. And at the end, upon this non-organic matrix area, the calcification of the inorganic material will be poor. So in this line, these are the regions where the calcification cannot be existed very well. I believe you can understand me right now. Do you understand me? And the ameloblasts continue to secrete and they make the enamel prism. And again, they rest, and again, they reach to the outer surface enamel. And these lines represent the there is a poor calcification. And of course, when they reach the outer side of enamel to the external surface, there's an open door, or there is a gate in here for the acids to go in the enamel and spread into the enamel very easily. The acids, after the bacteria produce the acid, these acids comes upon the external surface. They cannot manage to go in from these sides because in here the enamel is very strong, very resistant, but there is a small open door or a gate in here for the acids, which is less resistant and acids. And by using these Retzius lines, these acids spread into the enamel and they start to dissolve the enamel. Oh, I don't know it is understood or not.
Yeah, I understood. So the Retzius lines are the where the ameloblasts tire, yes, the black lines.
Yes, yes, yes. Interestingly, all amyloblasts when they get tired, they are living cells. They use oxygen. They consume oxygen. They give carbohydrate. They are just living cells, and they get tired approximately in 24 hours. And when they get rest, they do not secrete, or they secrete very less organic matrix altogether. And of course, upon this poor organic matrix, upon this poor skeleton, of course, the precipitation of the calcium phosphate is not easy. There will be poor calcification. These Retzius lines represent the poor calcification areas. Okay, and there is an open notch in here for the acids to go in. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
May I also ask a question?
Of course.
In one of your slides, there's a picture on darker lines and lighter lines.
Yes. Which one is? Which one is?
There's a also head and tail region on a cubic prism.
Oh, yes. I remember. Of course. I mean this one?
No, before that slide. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this one.
Um,
You're asking about this.
Yeah, I couldn't understand the relation between these lines and its permeability and Carey's progression.
I'm sorry. First of all, I should say that you understand, I believe, the orientation of the crystals, okay, parallel to each other and a little bit bended, a little bit diverged in here. And the orientation of the, okay, next slide will be better, is important because when an acid, let me find my arrow. When an acid comes upon the dental enamel, it hits the epitide crystals directly. But this is the explanation of the dental enamel. This is not the dental enamel caries course, okay? I'm going to explain it to you next week, why these orientation is important for the initiation of dental enamel caries. I tried to explain just for the appearance of the dental enamel. So in here, the electron beam hits the epitide crystals, and these crystals reflects the electron beam to the same direction, and this area seems a little bit lighter. But in here, it hits on the one side, and electron beams are scattered, and the region, the tail region, is seen a little bit darker. This is the appearance. I would like to show you the appearance of the, enamel appearance. But next week, now remember this configuration, I'm going to explain the relationship between the orientation of the crystals and the initiation of the dental enamel caries. Okay, it is the explanation of the next week, not this week. This is only for the appearance. Next week, I'm going to explain the relationship between the orientation of the epitide crystals and the initiation of the dental enamel caries. Okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
just wait a week.
Hocam bir şey söyleyebilir miyim?
Tabii söylersin.
Hocam derste ben 3-4 kere bağlantı sorunu yaşadım. Bir de dersten çıkıp Zoom'a bir daha girdim. Peki yoklamada sorun olur mu?
Onu Doktor Elif Hanım'a soralım. Çünkü Doktor Elif Hanım bütün bu yoklama işlerini hallediyor. O üstleniyor. Ben sadece ders anlatmaya çalışıyorum. Elif Hanım'la kontak kurabilirsiniz. Tamam.
Tamam
Sizde
hocam, teşekkür
mutlaka
ederim.
vardır yani maili veyahut da bir şey, yani kontak kurabilirsiniz.
Tamam,
Tamam.
teşekkürler hocam.
Rica ederim, rica ederim. Başka any questions?
Hocam ben dersle ilgili bir şey daha soracağım da bizim bu
Bir şey daha sor bakalım.
hocam bizim bu Creative Restorative Dentistry dersinin ilk 2 dersinin slaytları atılacak mı bize hocam? Biz 2 haftadır bekliyoruz da onu atılmadı hala.
Anlayamadım canım. Bu dersin ilk 2 slaytları Mustafa Bey'in anlattıkları mı?
Aynen onlar o slaytlar.
Ha, o slaytlar yani Mustafa Bey'in anlattıkları, benim değil.
Aynen.
Ha, aynen. Vallahi onu Mustafa Bey'le konuşun. Yani Mustafa Bey'in nasıl, ne şekilde bir şey yaptığını, yol çizdiğini bilmiyorum. Ama ben bütün slaytlarımı ve bütün teksti size vereceğim. Olur mu? Mustafa Bey'le bir görüşün lütfen.
Tamam hocam. Teşekkürler.
Estağfurullah. Benim İngilizcemi anlayabiliyor musunuz? Bir de onu sorayım. Do you understand my English?
Ben anladım hocam şahsen.
Personally yani.
Evet.
Peki. Okay, any questions more? Okay, thank you. Thank you.